Hey guys, Stephanie with AmericanMuscle.com here with the Steeda Sport Competition Springs for 2012 to 2013 Boss Mustangs. The Steeda Sport Competition Springs are going to be for the S197 Boss owners out there who are looking for a highly functional spring with a little appearance gain as well. Any lowering spring can lower the car, but the Steeda Springs are more about handling performance than just getting the car to sit lower, and this is what makes them a good option for those looking to utilize the handling performance capabilities of the Boss Mustang. Getting into some specifics here, the main thought behind the development of these springs was actually handling performance like I just mentioned. And so the springs are designed to greatly improve the overall weight distribution of the car. In order to do this, the ride height is lowered by only 0.2 of an inch in the front, but the rear is going to come down anywhere from 0.7 to 0.8 of an inch. Now this isn't a huge drop, but I really want to hit home the fact that these springs are all about functionality and performance. With this drop, the front height remains mostly unchanged, which actually leaves the front roll center geometry optimal. Another key feature of the springs is the spring rate. The spring rates are substantially increased to greatly reduce body roll, squat during acceleration, and nosedive under hard braking. This means improved control and balance. So Steeda really claims that these springs can bring you all of these handling benefits, but with a ride quality that's nearly equal to the factory ride quality. So we're talking a competition level handling performance, but with a comfortable ride. And I'm not going to let the opportunity to test this claim go by. So I'm going to take this car out once we're all done with the install, and I'll let you know what I think, and we'll also show you how the drop looks. I do want to say that if you're looking for a harder drop or something to get you a little bit lower than the Steeda springs can, there are some other options that are out there. They may not be as focused on performance, but they will get you lower. Eibach, Hurst, and Ford Racing all have some offerings out there if you want to check those out instead. And you're looking at drops in the range of 0.6 to 1 inch in the front and drops of 1 to 1.3 inches in the rear with those brands. As far as price, these springs are going to cost right in between $250 and $300. And to put that in perspective, both Eibach and Hurst are coming in lower than that price range by about $40. But the Ford Racing springs are about $40 more than the Steeda are. So the install here is going to take about 4 hours, and I'm going to call it a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the scale. You will need some knowledge to complete this install, so I would recommend having a knowledgeable helping hand or taking this to the shop for the install, especially since it's always a good idea to get an alignment after the install anyway. This install can be done on jack stands if you don't have access to a lift, but as usual, a lift will be your best bet here. You're going to need a few tools, including a spring compressor, so make sure you have that before you start the install. You can start with the front of the car and remove the wheels, of course. You're going to need to unhook all attachments to the front struts, and this means brake lines, sway bar links, and all of that. Then remove both strut assemblies. There are 4 nuts on the top of the strut tower and 2 lower bolts. For this, it may be helpful to support the brake and spindle assembly so there's no tension on the brake line. Compress the front spring until there's no more tension, and then separate the strut from the spring and the upper strut mount. Once the stock spring is out, compress the Steeda spring and put the strut assembly back together, with the larger diameter end of the spring facing down. Do this on both sides of the car and then reinstall the sway bar end links, and you can move on to the rear. You want to leave the car raised, but use a floor jack under the diff to support the weight of the rear axle. There are 2 nuts on each side of the car that mount the factory bushing clamps and sway bar to the axle assembly that need to be removed. Then the sway bar can be moved out of the way. There are 2 lower bolts connecting both shocks to the rear axle assembly, and those need to be removed as well. You should also remove the bolt holding the brake lines to the frame rail, so you can move that and then lower the rear of the car so the springs are free and can be removed. You really want to make sure that there is no tension on the brake lines here. You can reuse the upper and lower rubber spring seat and place the new rear spring into place. After the 2 rear springs are in place, raise the rear axle assembly and then reconnect the shocks and sway bar. So after the install, we took this car out for a little drive and put the springs to work. And even though there wasn't too much of a difference in the ride height, there was a difference in handling, and that was unmistakable. Now keep in mind that the Boss does come with some upgraded shocks and struts, but the car soaked up any bumps with ease. It also squatted well when we laid into it, and we didn't notice any body roll either. I would have to say that all of Steeda's claims are true with these springs, so if you're looking for improvements in handling, these would certainly be a good option for you. Wrapping things up here, the Steeda Sport Competition springs are a spring designed with functionality in mind. They will drop the car a touch, but the main thought behind the development of this spring is performance. The spring rates are set up to improve control and balance, and the install is not difficult, and you can check these springs out more online right here at AmericanMuscle.com.